I'd like to call the committee of the whole for the Village of Cary for Tuesday, August 21st, 2018 to order with roll call, please.
Cavelli? Oh, no. Kostler?
Here.
Weinhammer?
Here.
Betts?
Here.
McAlpine?
Here.
Kraus?
Here.
Thank you. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, this was the
That's
right. We'll now move to the public comment section where the public is invited to address the committee of the whole. Is anybody who would like to address the committee of the whole? Anybody want to have any conversation about anything? All right, we'll go ahead and close public comment. We have one thing on our agenda for tonight, is a discussion on the water conservation ordinance. Director Morimoto.
Thank you, Mayor. This evening, we've brought back to committee for discussion a topic we had brought previously on March 20th. This is for a potential water conservation ordinance and a amendment to the code that currently allows us only to prohibit outdoor water use during emergency situations. What we are proposing is to have a tiered system in which that we can actually, during situations that would require us to want to help preserve groundwater supplies, whether it be for drought conditions or if we have an ongoing maintenance issue or repair problem to a major well system where capacity was a problem, we could have an intermediary step to not full out restrict water use in those cases, but reduce it and conserve it. We did make one change, one major change since the previous version that was brought forth in March. We're now proposing the tiered system to have it's a red, yellow, green system, with green being the standard condition. We're proposing now that green condition be no restriction, which matches the current situation. However, we would encourage conservation in outdoor water use and sprinkling only in the evening, night, and morning hours, but there would be no technical restriction. And then that tiered approach for yellow, before we go to an all-out restriction at red, would be only allowing that outdoor watering in evening hours from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So with that modification, I do recommend its consideration in the case that we do have to do some major well issues and any drought issues we could face. So if there are any other further questions or discussion, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
We're certainly not looking to switch between colors with this at all. We wanted, though, as Director Morimoto had said, we want to have something in place in case we do get in a severe drought or we have a failure of one of our wells where we can, make the call if we need to make the call here on a quick basis. So not looking to complicate it at all here, not looking to over-regulate, just want to have something in place in case we need to flip the switch.
Any questions on this? Any feedback?
I guess I'm the only one. I have a question on paragraph D, which Attorney Euler, maybe you could help me out with. Where do municipalities fall as far as their authority to shut off water? And I guess maybe that's not really my question, but directly, my understanding is there are very specific parameters you have to fulfill before you can shut off utilities to somebody. And I'm worried that this is granting or putting into our ordinance something that's not even allowed by state statute. I researched it and I couldn't find where we had permission to do this.
There is a procedure you have to follow to shut off utilities like water. I'm assuming that's the process we would follow here after written notice.
And that would be for shut off, like in the event of non-payment or tampering of the water system, that's a shut off, like from the service valve to not let any water go to a structure or user. In this case, we're not, this ordinance does not entail the shutting off of water. This just prohibits the specific certain uses of that water in outdoor situations during these conditions. So if we witness and have written notice for someone to stop sprinkling their lawn during the red condition, say an all-out ban on outdoor water use, we would have the ability in the code to enact that warning, that violation, and that ticket. But it's not shutting off the water in this case.
Okay, because it says that in paragraph D, include shutting off water service to the premises.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. that would be the next step after enforcement, written notice, and the typical enforcement scenarios don't work. That would be the last step.
Right, so there's usually an opportunity for a hearing or to at least address the shut off, the violation, whatever it may be, before it's shut off. And that would still be a process that we'd have to follow before we shut off water to the house.
Correct.
Right.
But here's my exact, I guess I have to be more clear. By state statute, are we allowed to shut off somebody's water because they use too much? Because everything I've seen is for non-payment of bills, things like that. And then we're saying, you use too much, we're going to turn off your water.
Yes, I believe we would have that authority after clear notice, after giving the individual the opportunity to address the violation, come into compliance, if that's what they're choosing to do, and they continue to violate a clear edict of the village, yes. You have that as the last resort to shut off the water.
And we'll further clarify this before we bring it back to the village board.
Yeah, I'd just like
so-
to research that a little bit, you know.
Sure.
Is there any
Because-
particular verbiage you'd like to see in that
No,
paragraph?
I'm just looking for answers because I couldn't find anything in state statute that granted us permission to shut off water for somebody that's using too much of it. And, you know, so.
We'll confirm it with the village attorney before the ordinance is brought forward to the village board.
And in this case, we wouldn't obviously not want to go to that resort and shut off the water just for using too much water. It's specifically for using, unnecessary water in a condition that would possibly preclude other homeowners from using necessary water for drinking purposes and cooking purposes and bathing purposes. So that's why it's in a tiered approach.
Right. And I'm not debating conservation. I think everybody gets that and everybody's on board with that, you know.
It's certainly, too, I guess, just to add on this, shutting off someone's water is kind of the last case scenario. I mean, we don't want to get in that situation. There's some instances where, we don't have bills being paid in timely fashion. We have to take those steps. Those are very, very unique situations, but we'll confirm it here in this ordinance. And if the board's comfortable with the rest of the ordinance as a form that's before you, we'll bring it back to the village board.
Yeah, you can even specify in the ordinance that the steps will be taken. You could get a little more clarification on it if that would make everyone a little more comfortable to what those exact steps would be.
So I might suggest as well that if you want to keep the former penalty, where you can cite someone with a monetary fine as an option, you may want to keep that as an option
I agree.
relative to a violation before you move to
I agree. Money talks on that,
a
right?
little more extreme.
Well, it's amazing how
Fine
many
you,
residents
someone's
come
going to be
running in
less
here
likely
when we
to
threaten
keep
shut off
doing it.
their
right,
water.
if they gotta-
Any other feedback on this?
I think it's good that we have something, though.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Morimoto.
Thank you for the feedback.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss personnel, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, Illinois 120/2C1, and litigation pending or imminent, Illinois 120/2C11.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, as soon as we clear the room, we will begin.